Thank you, Denise. That was, we so appreciate, I think, resonates the introduction. ARI has been such a legacy organization for the autism community for so many years. And I know Katie and I are thrilled to be part of it. Your mission to provide this information for free resonates with us as well. Everything that Katie and all the resources Katie shows you today are free also. So thank you again. We're delighted to be here. I'm Patricia. I'm just going to provide a brief introduction and then I'll be answering questions behind the scene. I'm the executive director of the Autism of Proof Positive, the Autism Wellbeing Alliance, and we are a nonprofit organization dedicated to improving the well-being of autistic people and their families, providers, and communities. And we do that by intersecting autism services with positive psychology. And simply put, our mission is to spread the science and skills of happiness. And that's what you're going to be learning about today, are the science and skills of happiness and how we can put those into practice to improve the well-being of the autism community. Just want to do a little bit of this is information that most of us here on this call have about the current well-being crisis and why Proof Positive is so committed to promoting and advancing well-being as an initiative for our community. You'll hear Katie talk about this as a content expert and having experience with this is well-being has not been in the forefront of our conversation. I've been an autism service provider for several decades, and well-being was not in my vocabulary for many of those years. I did lots and lots of different things, but well-being not one of them. I think because of that, we have some of these outcomes related to employment and suicide and suicidality, and that autistic adults are report being lonely and that they're disconnected from their schools and communities. We also know that autistic individuals have higher rates of mental health disorders. We believe that you can change those outcomes. We also know we use the term autism community. We define that broadly: families, service providers, employers, subordinates, and all those people are part of this autism community. We know that recruitment and retention of social service providers is really difficult right now. Those of you that are trying to recruit educators and special educators, trying to recruit job coaches for vocational rehabilitation, supports for people who need community living providers. Recruitment and retention is really challenging. And the demand for those roles has increased. This is from the Department of Labor, 41% in the last 10 years, and it's just going to keep going up. And we know that families, many of you who are on this call right now, report having extreme challenges in accessing appropriate services because of these staff shortages. And the communities, we know that if you focus on well-being, if professionals feel like their well-being is being addressed, and there's opportunities for them to have meaning and relationships and all of those in this work, that we can address this well-being crisis, both for autistic individuals and for those who love and support them. To do this, the Proof Positive solution is to integrate positive psychology and autism intervention by spreading the science and skills of happiness, because everyone deserves happiness, including those with autism. From here, I'm going to pass it off to a true content expert, Katie Curran. She is an individual who's been integrating the fields of positive psychology and autism intervention for many, many years, speaks from years of experience and professional training. And I know we're all going to really enjoy learning from you, Katie. So thank you.
Patricia, thank you. You so kindly both introduce us and do the hard part of naming the problem we're trying to solve. And I know many people in this call are acutely aware of the issues and the problems, and we could likely spend the next hour just trying to pick apart why and what are the contributing factors, but we're not in the business of sort of relabeling the problem. I get to talk to you about the solution, which is to improve the well-being of all of us that consider ourselves part of the autism community. So what does the science say? The science is really simple. Happiness can be learned. Happiness is dynamic. Happiness is really comprised of much more, as you're going to learn, than just a feeling of sort of pleasure in the moment. We know that we can learn, practice, teach, and spread the skills of happiness. And the science tells us that people who adopt the practices of pause psych, that make it an effort to practice the skills of happiness the same way you might make it a habit to eat healthy or exercise your body or try and get good sleep, reap many benefits. And so these few bullet points summarize hundreds of research articles that really tell us that if you prioritize practicing the skills of happiness, you will live longer, happier, healthier lives. You'll experience stronger relationships. We know that we are sort of in the midst of a loneliness epidemic. These skills help us connect, boost those relationships. We know that people that practice the skills of happiness have improved performance at work, at school. They're seen as better leaders. They are often seen as stronger employees. We also know that by practicing the skills of happiness, the science tells us we can decrease depressive symptoms, anxiety symptoms, and many other mental health conditions. So if we want to create a world where well-being wins for all, it is about adopting the practices of pause psych. So what is this field of positive psychology? About 30 years ago, Dr. Martin Seligman coined the term positive psychology, and he was really interested in how do we form a rigorous scientific body that studies who we are at our best and how we get more of it. He was interested in what is right with the human condition and how do we shine the light on it. What makes life most worth living? What are the elements, the components of an engaged life, a pleasant life, a meaningful life, a life full of purpose and joy? And pause psych is interested both in the sort of individual outcomes around well-being, as well as how do we help groups, families, teams, organizations, communities grow and thrive. So we are interested in what is right with you? Who are you at your best? How do we get more of it? And what does that look like for you individually, for your families, for your teams, for your organizations? Pause psych is really the study of who we are at our best. 30 years into this field, the research are pretty clear. There are 6 elements critical to human thriving and flourishing. It's known as the PERMA theory of well-being. Martin Seligman tells us that these 5 elements of PERMA, positive emotions, engagement, relationships, mattering, and accomplishment, are critical to thriving and flourishing. We at Proof Positive believe you have to connect mind and body, and therefore we add the plus for health, that we also need to be considering sleep, movement, nutrition, our physical health when we're talking about overall well-being. So, positive emotion, the first element critical to human thriving and flourishing. Do you have a healthy dose of feeling good day to day? And this is more than just happiness. This is, do you have a sense of serenity, of joy, of inspiration? Do you experience awe, curiosity, creativity? Do you have a wide variety of positive emotions? And do you feel them most days? The second element is engagement, that you have a good sense of what interests you, that you're able to sort of engage in regular pursuits of growth, that you spend time in flow, you know, that sense of being so immersed in what it is you're doing that you quite literally lose track of time. Maybe you crack open a book and you think you've been reading 15 minutes, but you're so engaged in the book that an hour blows by. Or maybe that's you out on a bike ride. You thought you were riding an hour, it's been you lose track of time because you're so immersed in the experience. Having experiences of flow and being highly engaged, critical to human well-being. Relationships. Chris Peterson is one of my favorite pause psych researchers, and he sums up the entire field in 3 words. Other people matter, period. Relationships are critical to who we are, how we thrive, how we flourish. Having people that will support us and that we support when things go wrong, as well as having people who will support us and celebrate with us when things go right, really important to thriving and flourishing and our well-being. The fourth element is mattering. A sense that your life has meaning and purpose, that you wake up in the morning and you feel connected to serving something larger than yourself, that you might find that meaning, that purpose, that mattering through a spiritual practice or religious practice. Some people find a sense of mattering by getting out into nature. Some feel committed to serving their family or an organization that they're a part of. But when you wake up, you understand your life has purpose and meaning, that you belong somewhere and you're committed to serving that. Incredibly important to well-being. The fifth element of PERMA says accomplishment matters. Having a healthy sense of where you want to go in the future, that you have goals set, that you are in pursuit of bigger, better things, that you push yourself to new boundaries, that you are hopeful about your ability to achieve those goals, critical to well-being. And then, of course, I spoke to health a bit. We think about 3 pillars of physical health that are really important. And the research says sleep, have to have it. Nutrition, really important. And movement, also important to our health. Are you getting your body enough exercise, the right type of exercise? We actually at Proof Positive just launched a brand new skill called Movement for Happiness. We all know that movement is good for our physical health, but the research tells us that movement is also really important to our happiness, our well-being, thriving, and flourishing. When we move our bodies, our muscles are actually designed to secrete a mood-enhancing chemical. So our muscles, when we're moving, pump mood food to our brains, which improves our overall well-being. So PERMA Plus theory of well-being tells us these 6 elements are critical to human thriving and flourishing. And what we aim to do at Proof Positive is empower people with not just the knowledge that these elements matter, but to also empower you to impact your own well-being. Well-being is dynamic. It changes over time. You can control your well-being. There are practices, there are skills, there are tools you can implement to enhance each of these elements of well-being. So if you're really into science, you can find articles that back up everything I just talked about and much, much more on the science page of our website. And Patricia, if you want to go ahead and put a link in the chat there for folks. If you're interested in science, we try to keep up to date with sort of the latest work coming out at the intersection of pos psych and autism intervention. Read away. But for the rest of today, we're going to talk about what are those skills? What are the practices that you can start doing today? We're going to do some of them on this call. What are the skills that you can put into action today to positively impact your own well-being? Again, thinking across those 6 elements of PERMA Plus, what are the skills that target each of those elements? So the very first one is the PERMA Plus snapshot. Skill number 1 for today is to actually take time to say, okay, these 6 elements matter. Science says I need to be aware of, paying attention to, and mindful of these 6 elements in order to enhance my well-being over time. So how do we do that? Well, we know that in life, we measure things that matter. Many of you probably got on the scale this morning because we know that body weight can be a measure of health. You've probably already opened an app on your phone at some point this week to check money in an account, to send money, to know how much you have. We measure the things that matter. We measure our blood pressure, we measure our body temperature, we measure our cholesterol. But can we measure well-being? The answer is firmly yes. So there's a QR code here on the screen. For those of you that are in technology or have a phone nearby and can QR code that, it will take you to a well-being survey. This is the PERMA Plus snapshot. You're going to answer just a few items about each element of PERMA, and you're going to get a measure, just like you do when you get your blood pressure taken or your temperature taken or you step onto a scale. You're going to get a number. So for each element of PERMA, you're going to rate 1 to 10, how you're doing on that element in the last week or so. If you do not have a device to scan the QR code, no worries. Do it on a piece of paper, do it on a Post-it. You're going to go through each element of PERMA, and I can walk you through it, and you're just getting a snapshot. In this moment in time, where's your well-being? So how much positive emotion have you felt lately? 1 to 10. How engaged have you been? How much time have you spent in flow, doing things that really sort of captivate your interests? 1 to 10. How are your relationships? How much time are you spending with the people that mean the most to you? 1 to 10. Mattering. How connected to your sense of purpose have you felt lately? 1 to 10. Accomplishment. How are you feeling about those goals? Here we are, wrapping up September. The start of the new school year is often one of those times where people set goals, have a good sense that they can achieve goals. How are you feeling about your accomplishment here in mid to late September? And then finally, health. How well have you been sleeping? Have you been getting the movement you need? Have you been eating in a way that sort of feeds you and makes you feel good and makes you feel healthy? 1 to 10. So if you've done this on the website, you will get a score and some suggestions around skills to practice that will help boost your well-being. If you've done it on paper, you're just going to total that up for your total well-being score out of 60. Wherever you are on each element of PERMA Plus, what we know is that you're already enhancing your well-being by taking the time to measure it. You've just paused and said, this matters to me. My well-being matters. You can measure your own well-being. You can use this survey to measure the well-being of students, family members. I'm a firm believer that if we are taking data on anything, we ought to also be taking data on well-being because it matters and we have a way to do that. So the very first skill is to stop and reflect on your well-being. Some of you are wondering, like, how often should we do that? We recommend, and as a team here at Proof Positive, we try to check in at least once a week. So pausing and reflecting on your well-being once a week gives you a sense of sort of where you are and how you're doing. Skill number 2 for today. What went well? This is the practice of asking yourself what went well each day. Training your brain to notice, be mindful of, begin to hunt down the good stuff in life. And there's good reason for why we need this skill. As humans, our brains are sort of predisposed for the negative. Many of you have probably heard of the negativity bias. Left to their own device, our brains are very good at spotting danger, spotting things that have gone wrong. Evolutionarily, critically important. For our well-being, not super helpful. So the skill of what went well is shifting your focus to make sure that each day you intentionally focus on things that have gone well. This is a powerful conversation opener, meeting opener, right? People come into a meeting, they've got all sorts of stress, things that are going on. They're often coming to the meeting because they're trying to solve a problem. Pausing and asking people what went well for you so far today can really have profound impacts on just sort of shifting the tone of that meeting. So what I would love to do is ask you guys to practice this in the chat, wherever you are in the world. Pause and just ask yourself, what's gone well today? And if it's first thing in the morning, feel free to share something from yesterday. So anything you're comfortable sharing, and Patricia, I'll ask you to share some of those out loud since you're looking at the chat.
Absolutely. I'm just going to start with mine that we got invited to do this with, engage with ARI. Oh, beautiful sunrise. The temperature is a lot cooler than the 100 degrees that we had yesterday. Got to go for a walk. This is I love this. I woke up given another day of life. My son had a positive day at school. The car started. Starbucks got my order and my name right. We've got some humor ones in here. I canceled an appointment so I could have time to get something important accomplished. There's a really big range here, Katie.
Love these. And you are demonstrating already how important this is. And it's important for the small things in life, the everyday things, and for the bigger moments. So sometimes people will say, like, what counts as good stuff? What counts as my what went well? Like, can I write down anything you are grateful for? This is the practice of gratitude in action. And even on our worst days, even on our worst days, and if we have any teenagers on the call or parents of teenagers, even with teenagers who are struggling to do this, there's a simple workaround. If you're struggling to find anything good in your day, just, how was your day? Okay. Subtract something from your life. Imagine your life without that car to get to work. Imagine your life without a roof over your head. Imagine your life without a critical teacher or support person or friend. And all of a sudden, you can find lots to be grateful for. So you can do some subtraction of things that exist if you're struggling to find good stuff. And remember, this is a skill. So when you start learning the skill of what went well, it's okay if it's a bit of a struggle to find 3, 4, 5 good things a day. I've been practicing this skill nearly 15 years, most days. And I will tell you, when I started, it was challenging to come up with 2 or 3 good things a day. I like to say I'm a recovering pessimist. This morning, I tend to practice my what went well in the morning. This morning, I had 14 things on my list from yesterday, and they come pretty quickly because I've trained my brain to think this way. So how do you do it? It's as simple as grabbing a journal, a notepad. There are lots of gratitude apps, many of them free, whether you're on Android or iPhone. Find some place where you're going to capture your good stuff every day. This is your gratitude practice. This is your what went well journal. You're going to set a timer because we know most of us have this isn't the first time we've heard it's important to count our blessings or write down good things each day. But without setting time to do it, without that sort of behavior change, it's hard to get in the habit. So set a time each day. One thing we know from the research, people who practice what went well right before bed fall asleep faster, sleep longer. So if you're someone who struggles with sleep, it's great to do it at night. We also know that for people who struggle with anxiety is often its most intense first thing in the morning. So it can be really helpful to start your day, as I do, with a what went well practice first thing in the morning. The other thing that some people have reported really enjoying is capturing what was good at night, reading it first thing in the morning, either over coffee or before they even get out of bed. But pick a time that will be dedicated. If you're a family that sits down to dinner each night, put your what went well journal in the middle of the table, practice as a family. You're going to try and capture at least 3 good things from each day. And remember, these can be sort of obviously good things. It can also be the silver lining moments. Like you were caught in traffic, but you still made it on time. Those silver lining moments count. And the subtraction activity works lots of times. The other trick I will share with kids, particularly teenagers, pick a theme. This week as a family, we're going to focus our what went well on food. This week, we're going to focus on friends. This week, we're going to focus on pets or animals. And so that way it gives you sort of a theme to think about. and you get more of a variety of good things. The research also says it's important not just to list the things, but to spend a moment reflecting on what made each of them good. And then for bonus points, share your good stuff. There's enough bad news to go around. Pick up the phone, send a text, particularly a gratitude text. If you have captured something in your What Went Well journal about a friend or a family member or a colleague that you were thankful for, share that with them. Shoot them a quick text. Let them know that you appreciated what they did for you. So the practice is simple. The most important part is get in the habit, pick a time of day, and do it repeatedly. How do we teach it? So at Proof Positive, what we are committed to is taking the skills of positive psychology and making them accessible to as many people as possible, including people who have different learning styles, different language abilities. So if you're on this call and you're someone who does not read or write easily, or someone who prefers images to text, we have created materials so that you can make photo journals. If you have a son or daughter at home who works better with pictures than with words, that's totally fine. We've created those resources for you. We've also tried to do some scaffolding so that we can teach into what is gratitude, what isn't gratitude, what are some different categories. So for each of the skills that we talk about today, there is a teach section on our website. All of the resources are free now and will be forever. We have incredibly generous founders at Proof Positive that want to make the science and skills of happiness accessible to all of you and anyone else you want to share them with for free. So we've created classroom guides, unit study packs. We've created standalone activities. All of it's on the website and broken down by skill so that you can both learn for yourself, practice for yourself, teach people that you live with, work with, or love, and then also some strategies for sort of spreading these skills in your larger communities. All right, skill number 3, Jolts of Joy. Intentionally inducing more positive emotion day in and day out. This is a fun one. We're going to start with a little bit of a challenge. So in the chat, we're going to take about 2 minutes, and I want you to just write all of the emotions you can think of. Patricia's going to do her best to read them off as quickly as you're typing them, but go ahead, 2 minutes, any emotion word you can think of, type it in the chat. And Patricia, help me out here. Read them.
I'm on it. Happiness, anxiety, joy, love, frustration, sadness, delight, helping, happy, sad, angry, excited, mad, anxious, loneliness, sadness, anger, grief, scared, irritated, frustrated, embarrassed, pain, devastated. Oh, that's a good one. Amusement, ashamed. They're all good. Shame, apathy, feeling loved, hopeful, interested, jubilant, passion, inspired, excited, curious. Those are good ways. I'm going to scroll back up. I know I missed some. Oh, wait, no, there's more. Driven, worried, eager, content, guilty, encouraged, anxiety, and overthinking.
You guys are so good at this. I'm cutting you off.
It's like, stop it. I can't keep up. Inquisitive. Wait, that's a good one. Grateful.
I love that you also interpreted your job as judging the emotions that went.
I know I did.
I just didn't read them. All right, Patricia, thank you. So stay with me for one more second, Patricia, and I'm going to have people, which type of emotion was easiest for you to generate, positive or negative? And just write the word positive or negative in the chat. Which was easiest to generate?
Negative. Someone said positive right now, which I think is an interesting qualifier.
Oh, that's interesting. Typically,
Negative, I guess. Positive, negative. I would say we've got a balance. A couple of people are saying both. I'm just going through it. We probably have a general lean towards negative.
generally lean towards negative, which makes you human, right? We have played this emotions challenge in countries all over the globe with thousands of people over the last 20 years. And almost every group generates more negative emotions, says generating negative emotions is easier, they come faster. And that is because of the negativity bias. When you look at human language across 130 different languages, we have 7 shared words to describe emotion. 6 of them are negative. 1 is positive, and that is joy. Why is that? I touched on it briefly. Survival. That fear quite literally keeps us alive. We have all heard of fight, flight, freeze, that our body's reaction to anxiety, to stress, to fear is designed to help us survive. So the question is, why then do we feel the positive emotions? What good is joy? What is the purpose of love? And while researchers throughout time have been curious and interested in why we feel stress, anxiety, and fear, it wasn't until very recently that a researcher named Barbara Fredrickson posed the question, what good are positive emotions? Why do we feel hope? Why do we feel amusement? Why do we feel love and gratitude? Barb is at UNC Chapel Hill. If you're interested in this work, she's got 2 really awesome and pretty accessible books. One is called Positivity, and Patricia, you'll put these in the chat for folks. One is Positivity, the other is Love 2.0. And so Barb posed this question about 25 years ago. Why do we feel these positive emotions? Anyone familiar with a term like fight or flight? Right? We've got this really sort of catchy term that tells us, and we learn about it in middle school and high school, why we feel negative emotions. But did you learn about broaden and build? That positive emotions quite literally broaden and build our resources, our capacities, our well-being. That it's in the moments that we are feeling good. It's in the moments that we're feeling love, curiosity, hope, that our minds open up. We think more creatively. We problem solve faster. Our vision literally expands. We see more of the world around us when we are feeling positive emotion. So we talk a lot about tunnel vision when we think about stress and anxiety. You can only really focus on what's right in front of you. Positive emotions do the opposite. They literally open up our brains. So if negative emotions narrow our brains and our scope and our focus, positive emotions open up our minds. They broaden and build our resources. And if you're like me, you learned early on that, in order to be resilient, you need experiences of failure. Barb's research is sort of calling that into question. What her research says is that we actually build the strategies, the resources that the thought repertoires that we need to be resilient in the moments we're feeling good. So it turns out that positive emotions are as critical to survival as negative emotions, because it's the positive emotions that expand our brains, that allow us to learn, and that allow us to grow. And so how do we know this? Because for the last 25 years, they've been bringing people into the lab and inducing them with positive emotion, leaving them neutral, or inducing them with negative emotions. How might you induce someone with positive emotion? You show them cute videos of babies laughing, of puppies playing. You have them write down 3 things they're grateful for. You have them read an inspirational news article. How do you induce negative emotions? You have them write a narrative about a time that they were scared. You show them the news. you have them write down 3 tough things that have happened lately. So you can sort of induce emotions, and then you put them through all sorts of tests, creative thinking tests, problem solving tests. And so we know that positive emotions open up our minds, build our resources, broaden our repertoires. Incredibly important to our health and well-being. So what we want to do is give you a way to induce positive emotion anytime you need it. Day in and day out, we want you to have some tricks in your pocket to jolt joy in yourself and those that you live with, that you work with, and that you love. So the practice of Jolts of Joy is that you're going to create a list of up to 10 ways that you experience positive emotions. And remember, we've got these 10 different categories of positive emotions. So Barb tells us these are sort of the big 10. There's lots of overlap and we can come up with synonyms, but these are the sort of big 10 positive emotions. Think across the emotions. What are a couple of ways you feel instant amusement? I know for instant amusement, there are some YouTube channels I follow, mostly dogs, that make me laugh. If I want an instant jolt of love, I've created a photo album in my photo app of my nephews. Looking through memories of fun times with my nephews, instant love. We have a teammate, Avery, who has created playlists for each of these emotions. So if music is somewhere you turn for a sort of jolt of joy, we've got playlists created across the different emotions. You might create your own playlists. So you're going to create a list of 10 ways that you can experience a variety of positive emotions, and then try and engage in at least 3 per day. That's for you. Then the question is, how can you be a jolt of joy for others? For those of you that work with students, particularly students on the spectrum, students that might have some challenging behaviors, students who experience high rates of negative emotions, work as a team. Come up with 5 to 10 ways that you can instantly jolt positive emotion in that student. Because I believe, and the science is clear, that our very first job as educators is to inspire joy. The data are clear. Happy students learn better. And so if we can induce joy, if we can be a jolt of joy for our students in that first engagement each day, in that first interaction, can we open their minds up so that whatever it is that we're trying to teach, whatever it is we're trying to accomplish, is a little bit easier for them? So think about how to jolt joy in your own life, and then how can you be a jolt of joy for others? What does it look like to have a meeting that starts with a jolt of joy? Can you assign a different person each week in your weekly team meetings, or the dinner table each night? It's a different person's role to be a jolt of joy. Have some fun with it. And like all the other skills, we've got plenty of resources for you. So if you're like, oh, I wonder what we could do in my house, or I wonder what we could do in my classroom, or how can I teach students about those 10 categories of positive emotions? You might be thinking, gosh, I've taught my students what fear feels like, what stress is, what anger is. We've done all sorts of emotion regulation around negative emotions. Most emotion regulation curriculums don't include positive emotions. So dive in. Again, unit study, slide decks, worksheets, printables. We've got them broken down by activity, standalone activities. Bring positive emotions into the conversation, because the more we can get people feeling good, the more we can experience positive emotion. Our minds are going to open. We connect stronger to one another. Really, really important skill. So teach it once you're practicing it yourself. All right. We have one more. I'm going to go a little bit quickly through this so that we leave plenty of time for Q&A if folks have questions. Showcase the good. I opened with saying that other people matter, period. Relationships are critical to our well-being. This is a powerhouse, awesome skill that is guaranteed to boost your relationships. This is the work of Dr. Shelley Gable. She was interested in what sets flourishing, thriving, strong relationships apart from the rest. And once again, in a lab with research participants, she sort of watched many, many, many variables. Her work started with married couples, has expanded to parent-child relationships, friendships, all sorts of relationships. And what she found is there was one critical differentiator between thriving relationships and other relationships. And what set thriving relationships apart was how they showed up in the good times. She found that there are 4 ways people tend to respond when you share good news with them. We each respond in these 4 ways. We've been responded to in these 4 ways. When someone brings you their gift of joy, their gift of good news, they've noticed something good in their day, they want to share it with you. There are 4 ways we as humans tend to respond. 3 of those 4 styles of response are detrimental to relationships. 1 boost relationships. So I'm going to give you a quick example. Your son or daughter runs through the door after school and says, "Mom, Dad, look, I got a 90 on my math test." The first way people respond is passive constructive. This is sort of quiet, understated. You're happy for them, but not really happy with them. "Mom, Dad, look, I got a 90. Awesome. Good job." The conversation just sort of stops there. It doesn't go anywhere. How is that child left feeling? A little confused, like the person didn't really seem disengaged. The end. Not great for relationships. The next, passive destructive. This is where someone chooses you, they bring you their good news, and you change the channel, or you one-up the news or ignore the news altogether. Same example. "Mom, Dad, look, I got a 90 on my math test. Do you have your shin guards? It's almost time for soccer practice," right? We just miss the good news. "Mom, Dad, I got a 90 on my math test." "Oh, you got a 90? Have you seen your sister? She got 100 on her history project," right? And now we've just sort of one-upped it, changed the channel. Not great for relationships. How is that child left feeling? How is that person left feeling? Are they more or less likely to share good news with you in the future? The third is active destructive. Someone chooses you. They bring their good news to you. They want to share it with you, and you quash it. You're quite literally a joy killer. You are the ants at the picnic, the clouds at the parade. "Mom, Dad, look, I got a 90 on my math test." "A 90? I thought we studied. What'd you get wrong?" Right. We've all done it to people we love. We've had people we love do it to us, where we focus on the concern or we focus on something that might be wrong in the news rather than showcasing the good news. So, how do we build stronger relationships? When people choose you, when they come to you, when they bring you their good news, you're going to engage in what's known as active constructive responding. You're going to showcase the good news. You're going to engage authentically. You're going to ask questions. You want to be a joy multiplier. "Mom, Dad, look, I got a 90 on my math test." "A 90? Great job. We really studied hard. Let me see the test. What'd the teacher say when they gave it back? How do you feel about your preparation? What are you most proud of in this moment?" Right? We're going to dig in that moment. How's that child now feeling? Are they now more or less likely to come to you with their next bit of good news? Much more. So the research is clear. We want to showcase the good when people share it with us. And it would be easy if every time someone shared good news, they came sort of running with a banner that says, "Good news alert, good news alert." That doesn't tend to be how it happens. They interrupt us when we're in the middle of a text message or an email. Sometimes people present good news as they're kind of on the fence, like, "I just got into grad school." Is that good news? Not good news? They're a little on the fence. You can help by showcasing it. They've brought it to you. Help them sort of reap the benefits of their good news and really build joy. Who wins? Who benefits from showcase the good? Both people. The person sharing the good news and the person responding experience increases in well-being, increases in positive affect, increases in trust, belonging, and intimacy. So at the center of thriving relationships is how we celebrate the good together. Are we showcasing the good when people bring it to us? It's as simple as spotting the good news, noting someone is sharing good news, and leaning in. Ask questions, help them relive the experience. Utilize your strengths. Are you a curious person? Ask lots of questions. Do you love to learn? Someone shares with you about their recent fishing trip. You don't know anything about fishing. Lean into learning about fishing. So you can sort of use your strengths to get good at this. And like everything else, it's a skill to be practiced and a skill to be taught. If you are running activities in social skills groups, in small group breakouts, where you're having kids share with one another about their weekends, their evenings, what they're doing for a holiday or a vacation, it is critically important that you're also teaching them and encouraging them to showcase the good news they're hearing. So once again, we've got Google slide decks. Everything's free of use, free for your use. Lots of ways to sort of adapt materials. You can modify materials. You'll be forced to make a copy in the Google Drive, but you can modify things for your students. Showcase the good is a huge relationship booster. And so we're going to encourage you to start practicing and teaching that skill. That's 4 skills in about 45 minutes that will help us create a world where well-being wins for all. So we are thankful that you took the time to be here today. We believe there is a future where the autism community is a part, a meaningful part, if not a leader in the well-being conversation. And so you are helping us do that by being here. If you are interested in joining us and learning more and doing more work, join our alliance. These are some pictures of programs around the country that are using our skills, that are leaning into learning the science and skills of happiness, and have started teaching their students. We went through 4 skills today. Our website has 9 skills and counting. We will continue to build out. Visit the Skills Center, visit the Science Center, learn, follow us on social media, anywhere that you sort of like to get information. We are hopefully there to meet you. And with that, I will, Patricia, turn it over to you for Q&A.
Yeah, there has been so much participation, and the thing, people are sharing so much about communities that built and how important this is. And yeah, it's just been really delightful. So thank you guys all for the participation in the chat. Couple questions came in, and I think one is really important to address. And this is Martha, and she says, can we, hashtag actually autistic adults, put the ideas like PERMA Plus into action? We have overcome a lot, and she says, in my case, 6 decades of the trauma of living while autistic in a neuronormative world. So I just want to thank you, Martha, for asking that question, and compassion. And for someone who does not identify as autistic, I appreciate that you posing this question of how you have to navigate. And Katie, I would love for you to talk about how these skills are both helpful when things are great and, you have such a great way of saying this.
Yeah, it's such an important question. And so one of the things I say, and I do not identify as autistic, but I think as humans, we can agree that there are times in life that we're feeling good, and there are times in life that are much more challenging. And Patricia has heard me say many times, these skills are what enable me to thrive in the good times. They are the same skills that enable me to survive when life is really challenging. And so whether it's a gratitude practice or a movement practice or finding time to identify your strengths and operate from them, irregardless of sort of where you are currently on the well-being measure, you can improve your well-being. You can put these skills into practice, and yeah, they're healing, many of them, right? 6 decades is a long time. These skills can help you heal. These skills can also empower you to not be stuck. They can empower you to take some control back over your well-being. One of the things, and Patricia, I can pass back to you to speak to about this, is the research on these skills specifically in the autism population is just emerging. So what we do know is that the PERMA Snapshot has been validated for use by autistic adults, but some of the other skills, there's less of a research body specifically on autism. We could have started Proof Positive to just fund research, but we believe strongly that we don't want to wait 15, 20, 30 years to start getting people the information that we believe will help them. Simultaneously, research needs to catch up. And Patricia, I can let you speak to that a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's Katie's talked about the strong body of research in positive psychology. We're seeing that across lots of different populations. I'll just share with you, and we had another question come in from Jill here. Have you done work with parents also? Do you know more resources for applying this at an organizational and business level as well? So there's actually a stronger body of research using positive psychology interventions to promote resilience and optimism and hope for parents of autistic children. There's actually many, many peer-reviewed publications on that when we think about it. So one of the things, and this actually comes into another question I'm going to share as well, is Daniel said, do you feel these skills can be used with children with autism? My life, 20 years of teaching and behavior specialist, I would like to know how. And again, Daniel, that was exactly what Katie just said. We feel like there is opportunity. We know this has worked for typically developing children to increase friendships, academic, decrease anxiety, depression, all the things we want in our society. And there is an emerging body of research for using these interventions with autistic children, autistic adults. We also know that we have specific interventions that are helpful, things like increasing visual supports, decreasing ambiguity in the information, not using particular euphemisms in storytelling for instruction, things that we know as educators. That's what we're trying to do in our materials, so that gratitude, gratitude is a practice that's been established across every population. It's been assessed. Yes, it can be done with autistic individuals, and we need to provide specific instruction in it. So that's, I think, where all these resources that we're sharing are, this is a way, a method, an opportunity to provide support. And again, we specifically address parents in our spread category on our website always. So Jill, please take a look there for ideas on how to practice what went well as a family in the car and how to practice Jolts of Joy while you're watching a movie. So it's just, we're really trying to address the entire autism community.
Well, and Patricia, if I can speak to Daniel's question a little bit also, please, if you dig in on our website and there's a material that doesn't make sense or an activity that doesn't reach your specific students and learners, I maintain a small private practice on the side because I am deeply curious about how to modify these skills, how to make sure they're working. And I work with a variety of learners. What I do know is it's required modification. It's required much more direct instruction. So if I walk into a classroom in a sort of typical high school setting and I talk about gratitude, most kids in the class understand what I'm saying with gratitude. When I then shift to my private practice and my students with autism, I have to spend a lot more time sort of unpacking what is gratitude before we can get into the What Went Well journal. Totally fine. We've tried to do some of that work on the front end for you. Partner with us. Give us feedback. We will modify materials with and for you. We will help you think through how to collect data on different activities or skills, how to make some of the concepts are a little bit more abstract. Like, what is the emotion of awe? that is an interesting idea to try and explain, and so Daniel, I am in this boat with you. I am trying in my own practice to make these skills accessible. I learn every day how to sort of shift things, change things where there's misunderstandings. If you run into them, you can email me directly, katie@proofpositive.org, and I'll work through just about anything with anyone on this call or anyone listening in the future to figure out what we need to do to make these skills accessible.
And researchers are we're starting to see research emerging. National Research Consortium is a group of researchers that are focused on well-being in the IDD community. So there is a growing body of people. I just saw Autism in Adulthood, the journal released yesterday. There's an article on flow. Katie has a special interest in learning about autistic joy and what does that look like. I mean, so there's opportunities for us to learn together, and gosh, we certainly don't know it all. And so feedback is welcomed. All right, a couple more questions came in. Hang on, let me look. Yes, sibling. Okay. There was a question here. It must be so much harder to do this on some days and easier to do on other days, according to the circumstances of your life. That's exactly what you just said. Yes. Thank you, Andrea.
And I will encourage you, if there is a day you're going to skip it on the good days, because it is those tough days that if you can just bring yourself to sit down and practice gratitude, practice mindfulness, pick one. We didn't get into strengths today because character strengths can take an entire hour of itself. But we have two different skills built out around character strengths: how to assess and identify who you are at your best. Are you high in humor, curiosity, creativity, social intelligence, love of learning? And then how do you use those strengths that come most naturally to you day in and day out? On really tough days, a great strategy is to just pick one or two of your top strengths and use them as much as you can those days. So I'm high in curiosity myself, and on days that I'm really down or struggling or life circumstances I will turn to my curiosity and go, how can I dig in and be curious both about the problems I'm trying to solve, the situations I'm in, and using our top strengths is a jolt of joy. The data are clear. When you're operating from strengths, you get a boost to your well-being. So I could preach all day on, do not forget about your well-being just because it's not going the way you want. Those are the days to hone in and really practice.
And I'm going to take a last question because our colleague Avery, who joined us on this, also answered this in the questions. Is, do you have resources specifically at siblings of autistic people? And Avery just chimed in about, as a sibling herself, how much these practices have supported her. And then in each skill, there's a spread section. But, I think we probably have a lot of family members. I know that families are always really wanting to ensure that every member of their family's needs are met. And so can you just close us out talking about maybe siblings and these practices, Katie?
Yeah, so Avery has actually done a workshop similar to this, targeted at siblings in partnership with Sam Sibs, which is a great group. One of the reasons that I appreciate and value the skills of happiness so much is because they are skills for humans, that they are skills for people. So whether you are wearing your mom hat, your brother hat, your sister hat, your colleague hat, your employee hat or employer hat, or autistic hat, these skills are for you. We know that all of us wake up wanting to lead happy, healthy lives, and these skills empower you to do that. So you will find some language directed at families, but all of the information in learn, practice, teach, and spread can be adapted, modified, and adopted by all of us. As humans, we want to live in a world where well-being wins, and these skills empower us to create that world. So irregardless of the role you're playing, the practices hold.
Excellent. All right. I am going to pass it back to Denise if you have anything to close out. If not, I would really just say thank you, all of you who joined us. We really, again, spreading the science and skills of happiness is our goal. And this opportunity to spread to an organization with the just institutional legacy of ARI is such a gift that you've offered us this opportunity and that you provide this information for free. Denise, thank you. Your commitment to your mission is so strongly evident in this opportunity.
Well, thank you both. It was such a fabulous presentation and so important to our community. So really appreciate the work that you're doing, and we'd love to have you back sometime. So we do these webinars every week, or most weeks on Wednesdays, and we will reach out and hopefully can get you both back for another presentation in the future.
We'll take that as an invitation. Thank you.
All right. Well, everybody have a great day. We are offering a quiz after this webinar. The link is in your reminder email. So if you go out to the website, you should be able to find the link and take the quiz if you need those clock hours. We also posted the handouts on the website and they are in the chat as well. So everyone have a great day and we will see you next time.